Let's move to the weakness section now. Despite having such a strong product as we just discussed, Palantir has a lot of weaknesses. And it's very embarrassing that none of the bull thesis actually capture this actual weakness that Palantir has. See, Palantir historically had very thin sales force and by far distance one of the weakest point of Palantir. In 2021, they actually had at best 25 salespeople with tenure of more than 9 months. The 2020 was even bad. This is not what B2B enterprise companies do who have ambition to rule the domain as a monopoly. They are expanding the team eightfolds in 2022 and it should help. But expanding sales force and embedding them in B2B sector is easier said than done. So until and unless we see the results of this in form of consistent growth in revenue, way above the guidance, it stays as an area of concern for Palantir. Alex also acknowledged that hiring and indoctrinating a new sales team is a challenge, but an essential effort. They expect some challenges, but will try to learn from other companies. So I do expect some headwinds in terms of integrating new sales force and unleash it to find new revenue before everything becomes smooth. The recent decline in government business has raised a flag. Is it due to the cyclicity or other reason, or because the federal defense budget was not approved in time? It has to be seen in days to come. Government is increasing their expenditure in AI and SaaS overall, and Palantir is close to reaching the highest security clearance and certification with US government, known as IL6. So will that start another round of revenue for the company? It has to be seen in coming days. Palantir appeared in several panels and open discussion related to policy making in the defense sector. So it does imply deep working relationship and trust by broad leadership in defense and security agencies for Palantir. Alex mentioned that lumpiness in government side is still high and it's actually worse in many ways than before. How does it translate in revenue has to be closely watched in days to come. Europe as the region still needs a lot of work for growth. We have seen efforts in Korea and Japan, but Asia is also another untapped market in many places. The Palantir will not work with US adversaries, still Asia is quite a large market and growing in parts at a much faster rate than US and EU regions. We didn't hear anything also about Latin America and Africa region for now. Palantir's overall narrative and connection with the analyst community, even at the basic information level, has been a disappointment sometimes. Alex admitted in terms of PR with analysts and sharing of data and information in a way which could help in avoiding lot of FUD in the market was one of the weakness. We need to see improvement in that. Seeing Carp on call full time was good start and let's have more of it now moving further as Alex promised on the call. Palantir requirements for change management have been traditionally higher, and though they focus to reduce it with a more modular approach and stop being too adversarial with IT teams in companies who want to build their own products, it is still a big concern for me until it's resolved. They acknowledged it and they said they are working on it, but results will only come in days to come. Until then, I still consider this as a weakness for Palantir. I have seen firsthand the threat faced by IT teams as they prefer to buy in small chunks and avoid large costly solutions. At one time, Alex mentioned that the average cost for Foundry last year was $6.5 million, and that is more than the total cost of many small businesses and IT budgets of many companies. This is a large entry barrier for them to expand in the market, and a very large market is still unserved and untapped by Palantir. Leaving money on the table due to the lack of right product strategy or sales force has always been an issue with Palantir, something they acknowledge but still needs more effort to get it right. Alex said that companies are selling a product which Palantir built 7 years ago and they failed to capture the value, and he promised that this is something they cannot afford anymore. So this is another concern that we have to see that Palantir actually improve moving forward. Alex said that companies are selling a product, something like they built 7 years ago, but they failed to capture the value, and he promised that this is something they cannot afford anymore. It's good that they acknowledge it, but there's still a weakness and they need to show promise in terms of execution before we remove it as a part of weakness in Palantir thesis. So that's all on the weakness side. Now let me move to the last section, that is, what are the threats Palantir is facing? See, by CARP own admission, Palantir in past let other companies gain market and clients on product that Palantir was almost 7 years ahead in the building. Expecting that growth of these companies can be reversed and B2B relationship they have built can be nullified in future is not possible. Palantir has given ground to other companies and they will fight tooth and nail to gain more and more market share. These companies understand the technology handicap they have against Palantir. So they are using strategic alliances and whatever means possible to meet the objective. It's a mistake by Palantir that could cost them a lot in coming days. Though they said that they will not repeat it, it's still easier said than done. Palantir is actually starting from behind in B2B sales arena than many of its peers. Palantir is focusing a lot on working models and product strategy to remove friction with in-house ID teams in potential client offers, and it needs a lot of work. And despite whatever they do, some adversarial impression made in past will never be reversed. In given client case or an extreme scenario, it can cost some critical contracts as well. And we will never know the contracts they never won, but the damage will be there. SBC dilution has been a concern for many. And while the company is committed to getting it normalized, by their own admission, it will take 18 months to 24 months. And in my opinion, that is also going to be the timeline for GAAP profitability, which means that a lot of fund managers and a lot of finance media will still see Palantir profitable in 2 years down the line, so they may downgrade the company in the meantime. Palantir is still behind in marketing and addressing FUD spreading media or by competition. Something they are getting more and more aware, but still a lot of work in progress. But a lot of damage that has already been done by it, it probably would never be reversed. So that is something we have to live with it. Palantir mission makes it vocal against companies like Google. So it's a question of when, then if, before Google showdown happens. Google has made progress in the enterprise sector a lot recently and equipped with some of the best tech. So now it will be true test of Palantir software quality testament, and I expect Google to throw a lot of money and with its position in Silicon Valley to bring a strong negative narrative against Palantir. Palantir is against the predatory nature of Google data mining activities, and success of Palantir mission is a loss of business for Google in long term. So in business competition sense, these companies will be at each other's throats sooner or later in the enterprise space, and it will be ruthless. Google is far bigger company, hundreds of billions of dollars of cash, embodies Silicon Valley identity, and increasingly woke company. So this is going to be far ruthless than we are expecting at this particular time. Despite all the relationship with government institutions, the narrative generally followed by extreme left liberal politics against Palantir, it is almost impossible to neglect that it will not have any impact on Palantir contracts with state and federal institutions. The cancel culture crowd is more focused on anger on Thiel endorsement of Trump rather than the mission of Palantir, which is to help the Western democracies. So this is all from my side. And I hope some of the points that I made in this SWOT analysis, you might find them helpful in updating your thesis. Please be advised that the purpose of this video is to educate and teach tools on how to deploy strategic thinking on business and investment problem in an outside-in manner. All contents are presented for education, information, and entertainment purpose only, and no portion of this content should be used as financial advice. Please do share your feedback in comment sections. And if you enjoy the content, do like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you next time. Goodbye.